Panzer Paladin takes place in a world where an evil organization is out to destroy it. With the help of your counter squad, you, Flame, pilot a mech named Grit. Together you'll take on the bad guys. There aren't many of them, but the animated pixel cutscenes look great. On the subject of pixel art, this game is like an amalgamation of several NES classics. Players can choose what stage to go through, like from Mega Man. Players can exit their mech and run around akin to Blaster Master as well, and the list goes on. While it borrows from a lot, it also has a lot to say on its own in that how Tribute Games remixed these ideas were brilliant, although not completely perfect. Getting to the game itself, as I just mentioned earlier, you can choose to tackle one of 10 missions, but unlike Mega Man, you're not defeating bosses to gain powers to then use against other bosses. They instead give you weapons, but like all weapons in the game, they are disposable. See, Panzer Paladin's biggest hook is that enemies drop weapons. While the variety is huge from a lead pipe to a giant sword to a hockey stick, they all function the same. That is to say, a sword thrusts forward just like a spear. The reach is the most important thing in combat, so always strive for the long boys, especially for bosses. I got another hot tip for you, regarding the one upgrade system in the game. Weapons can be used to fuse into Grit, which will increase its health. This can only be done 5 times, so to counteract some of the game's difficulties, it might be wise to replay the first mission in Canada several times over. It's quick, easy, and has plenty of weapons for upgrade fuel. Getting back to the core of weapons, they aren't completely without personality. Each one has a spell attached. Charging up the shoulder buttons will cause the weapon to break and release said spell. This can cause lightning to strike enemies on screen, or it can heal players. That last bit is especially important because this game can be brutal. It's not so much the onslaught of enemies or even bosses. It's the pitfalls and traps within levels accompanied by Grit's somewhat unruly controls. It's a big mech, so it moves somewhat clunky as one might expect it to realistically. This means platforming isn't that easy. To aid in this dilemma, players can use an upward thrust to boost over gaps, but it's a bit awkward to use. What's more, falling in a pit by missing a jump by a tiny margin is frustrating because the checkpoints are ridiculous. The level design in general feels too long, especially since there are only 2 checkpoints in a level. And yes, there are lives, which if you run out, it's back to the beginning again. Now, I may be playing up the badness of the controls just a bit. They are mostly solid, save for the platforming. Even then, they are only frustrating at times. This isn't a game that will break you like another NES classic, Ninja Gaiden. The controls aren't my only problem though. While I like the idea of the weapons, it felt like a system of quantity over quality. Even with the spells, there aren't that many to be had, and the very limited upgrade system was disheartening. For a game with a lot of cool bosses, having that extra boost and getting new powers or something like that might have made it stick more with me. The art, music, and general appeal saved Panzer Paladin for me. It's a great homage to the NES, but it lacked a little something for me to truly call it a classic. Did you like that video? If you did, please like, subscribe, and spread the good word of ReActionExaminer. If you want to read more of my stuff, you can find a plethora of my articles over at TheGamer and Game Rant. All of those links and more are in the show notes below. Thanks for watching!